mulțumesc. So there's very little I can say in Romanian.
Yeah, that's good.
I was just saying, I understood this morning the president when he was here.
Yeah.
They didn't have headphones at that time, or not enough. So I was listening to the president in Romanian, and he was speaking very clearly, slowly. And then if you speak French and understand some Italian or Spanish, you hear roughly what he was, not the details, but in the end I knew what he was talking about. So it was interesting.
But you didn't have translation on?
Just for the president.
For the president, no, they were just organizing, it was late, so
Okay.
they didn't have that. Later they had it, and
Yeah, now they have, for this panel they have.
for this one they had enough.
Mind if I move this?
No, sure.
It's right in front of the camera.
Okay.
So, thank you. Okay, so anytime you're ready.
Ready, huh?
First of all, what did you talk about during your presentation at the event? Because I didn't get the chance to hear you speak.
Well, first of all, I mean, the topic was on innovation.
Okay.
Innovation, and then with a focus on Romania. So what I tried is really focus it down on, I mean, innovation is a large topic. Of course, you can talk for hours on that one. And I try to see, okay, what are the key success factors of innovation? For example, that the real benefit investing in innovation starts with a vision. You need to have a vision, which means you need to have something that you can work towards. Otherwise, it's just new. But for example, for Intel, it's to enrich the lives of people, on every person on Earth through technology in the next decade. And that gives the company actually a vision today where people can work towards, to enrich the lives of people. And if you have this kind of vision, then you start putting it in place. For example, you need to focus on processes much more than on products. When people think innovation, they think of the next new whatever product, great, wow. But a lot of value in innovation lies in how you do things differently, the processes, how you organize the way probably you implement technology or so. It's not always the next big thing or so, but it's always the small things where innovation really has the biggest return on investment. How you include people, how you collaborate in open innovation, all these were the topics of what I was saying.
Okay, so you basically just blew to three of my questions. Yeah. So okay, so you told me that in order to innovate, you have to have a vision. Does Romania have this vision you're talking about?
To my understanding, yes, because otherwise it wouldn't work. I mean, it can be, all visions also can be optimized, but what I heard today, again, what I said partially from the president, also from the Secretary of State today, there's a vision. There's a vision how to move Romania out of the financial crisis situation, how to move it to really become more and more of a hub for technology. And it already has most of the software developers, I think it's leading in terms of worldwide per capita in terms of software developers here in Romania. So I think there must be a clear vision, otherwise these kind of things don't happen coincidentally.
Okay, so where do you guys come in? Where does Intel come in helping Romania innovate, helping Romania get out of the economic crisis?
I think one of the things is that Intel is a company, first of all, that invests anti-cyclically, which means when there's a crisis, and actually in the crisis we start to invest more very often, and you saw that also in the last couple of years. And as a result, you saw really the Romanian operations, the lab here in Bucharest, the acquisition we have in the Cluj area, and so on, in terms of people and in terms of revenue, saw it growing over the years. So we invest in economic situation, but also what we've seen in the last decade is that a lot of investments from company, they move, right? They go from here to here to here. And it's not so much about cost anymore. It's about other things. It's about the innovation society, if you want. It's a big word, but it's how societies deal with innovation, how they are implemented. And one of the quotes I was citing in the speech today was, I just got it this weekend, that even in the non-technical sectors, it was a study we did with the European Schoolnet in Brussels on skills, what kind of skills are missing. But one of the things from the executive summary was that in the non-technical sectors, Romania is leading in two things. First of all, Romanian females are the most innovative in the non-STEM areas across Europe. And second one, regardless of gender, even in the non-technical areas, Romania has the highest level of creativity. So, you know, these are two words where you say, okay, females, it's very important for us because we all, at least in Western Europe, don't have enough females in the technology sector. It's better here. But you see it, I mean, there is, even at the non-technical sectors, Romanians are very innovative and creative. And I think all that together opens up an environment where companies like Intel and others are very happy to invest, because that meets their goals, to have innovative, creative people.
Okay.
May I add to this since you asked
sure.
about Romania, so I kind of need to jump in. If you look at the last, our investment since 2009 till now, Intel had a sustainable investment into highly skilled jobs. So currently we have more than 400 employees across the country with our subsidiaries, majority of them working in research and development. Also, and Thomas touched on this in his speech today at the Forbes Forum, what we do is not just for Intel. We invest also in the market that we operate in. We have been proving this through continuously developing relationships with the universities. We have an initial partnership we started with Polytechnic of Bucharest, a laboratory there. We expanded now to more than 50 universities across the country. So we are also investing in the education system, so that we raise the market, the level of the market we operate in addition to creating highly skilled jobs, which is kind of more quality than quantity focus.
Tell me about the R&D center that recently opened, because I don't have many details on it, and I'd like to know more.
No, it's not that recent anymore. So the Intel Romania Software Development Center, that's the name of our R&D center in Bucharest, has been announced in 2010 in December.
Oh, okay. So it's not a new one, because when
No, there is a new one in Cluj. So
that's the one
The center in Bucharest is now more than 180 people, fully plugged into the education system, having strong collaboration with universities, and also very well connected to our kind of ecosystem, government relations, and so on. Recently, in 2013, and here Thomas also has the whole information, we made an acquisition in the education R&D center, and that created another center in Cluj, where we have more than 40 employees right now.
Okay, so what exactly do those 40 employees do at the center?
They are working in research and development for educational platforms.
Okay, so it's basically the Galileo and the Edison and all the.
It's in the mobile space, not limited. So yes, not limited to that.
Okay. Coming back to Intel, you said your goal was to enrich people's lives through innovation. What are your main focuses? What are the areas you're most interested in innovating exactly?
There's a lot of them. I mean, one, for example, is when you talk about from the business perspective, user experience, right? I mean, today we have a great technology world. Everybody's happy partially with it, but still you started out maybe with a notebook, then the smartphone came, then other things came. So probably each of us carries 3 devices around with 3 chargers, and the first thing when you go to a hotel is charge all your things, right? I mean, that's a typical. So this is not a really good user experience. We also know that, things like buying a new car or so is something nice, but if you have to buy a new computer or notebook, for a lot of people that's a I have to do it kind of things, right? So the question is, what can we do? How can technology here enhance or support what people do? How can we make the life easier really through technology? For example, that it's always there where you need it without carrying things around. How can you make sure that security and privacy is engaged, so that you're sure that your data are there, and that has nothing to do with cloud computing. Because cloud computing is there, and there are secure things that you can do. But how do we make sure, for example, that this exchange through the cloud enriches the lives of people, which means you go from here to Munich and your data are there and they are safe. These kind of things. But it can also be invested in society. We had one example in the Philippines, for example, which could be here as well, where together with the local community we worked on a solution that the fishermen who go out in the sea have a better system through technology to detect where the fish are today, because sometimes the fish are here and sometimes they're here. And that in the end was leading to more fish that they get out of the sea, and ultimately to more economic development in this area, and so on. So it really spans from user experience of technology to how do you apply that, and also education. How do you make sure that the experience in education is a good one? If you think about teachers, for example, we still have teachers, of course, they are not that old, okay, maybe for you, but 50 plus, so they still have 10 years to go. They did their diploma on a typewriter. They did their diploma when there was not even the word PC, they didn't know how to spell it. And now they are faced in the classroom with a situation, education, where kids bring their own smartphone, bring their own device, their own tablets, their own computers, whatever. Internet is free, and if it's not through the school, it's anyway through UTMS or UTS or whatever, right? So they have this access. How do schools deal with that? How can we enhance education in that respect? Because just having a device doesn't mean education gets better. Education gets better when it's applied through the teachers. And when there's new ways how technology and pedagogy work hand in hand, basically, to create something better for education. And this is actually where we are, and it's by far not finished.
I know that Intel has a mentorship program for the teachers. I know you have a partnership with the government of Romania. So I'm just gonna go back to the part where you said about user experience and security and the cloud. Have you found any answers to those questions that you just talked to me about?
We started to find answers on that, but if we say we have the final answer, no, there will never be a final answer, I think. The reason is very simple. Today, there's a lot of unresolved issues. We know that, everybody knows that. The more, for example, take one example, the wearables. You probably know the wearables, right? I mean, for the moment, it's mainly the sports market, but it starts to be now fashion more and more. We engage actually with fashion companies so that it's not to have a nice wristwatch that, you know, we do together with Barney's or other fashion companies. But in the end, if you think about what it is great because it helps you to better understand what you're doing. It can measure a lot of things, but then again, we know that creates data. And a lot of others might be interested in that data, and data in general there's a thing that data is somewhere out there in the cloud, and theoretically it can be broken in, but so it is like your computer can be stolen. So in the end, the whole thing is nothing new as such, but it gets a new dimension now. Where is that data, right? People are afraid of that, we have to accept that. And it creates new models. Now, who is interested maybe in your health data? It could be your insurance company. Because the less you do exercise and the more French fries you eat, the more they might actually increase your rate, right? Now, is that something that we want? Probably no, but is that something that can happen? Yes.
It's something that already has happened. I've read reports that in the US there are insurance companies that monitor employees of various firms through their Fitbits, yeah. And they set the rates according to that data.
But right, so that is one thing. On the other side, what is positive is what we saw is these kind of tools, wearables that cannot exchange information with others, like in groups, right? Like if we run together, it would be great for all of us to see how much you run in the morning and you and so on. And if a device cannot do that, it's a negative thing. Why? Because it actually motivates people to do something. They work together, right? Like social media, people want to do something together. So it enriches the lives here of these people who want to do that. And technology can help you. But what can it do? So that's why I'm saying there's a constant thing right now. Every new opportunity, of course, has to be accompanied with something that to make sure that it doesn't get into any kind of negative thing. But the same is true with everything. Think about the cars. You see the cars here. Probably 100 years ago, people might have said, oh my God, that is risky, right? They run much faster than horses. They can kill people. Well, you know, there's always an innovation. Innovation means something new, but it also means something is changing. And then all the responsible companies need to make sure how do they work these kind of things. Are we there yet with wearables and cloud computing? No, nobody is. But we are working on that. We are probably leading it. But the ultimate answer is not there yet.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the development board. So it's been almost a year since you've launched the Galileo, and you've made an important shift towards open source hardware. What are the benefits of Galileo for Intel, for the makers, and ultimately the society?
I think on the first part I might let you answer in terms of software. If I start with society, I think, as I mentioned, one of the key things for us is that it's something affordable now, that it's something that is easy. And for us it means really raising the interest in STEM. raising the interest in STEM, doing something like coding or so, doing something that is cool. We've seen a lot of young kids now saying, oh, this is cool, we can do something. Right before it was big things, but now it's small, they can plug in their smartphone, do something. So what we do actually, a couple of things. First of all, these are technologies of the future. So with that, we somehow invest in education for the future, not only in this kind of 21st century skills, but also technology skills, partially, especially to the female population, female students, but ultimately showing how easy, how cool it is to do something. I mean, coding is something you need a code for everything. If you think about smart homes, for example, if you really install what you have as a vision today in your house, smart fridges, smart lights, smart garage, smart whatever, the whole smart thing, you need to somehow program that thing. And that ultimately is a sort of basic coding, right? So more and more people will be faced in this smart world, so to speak, with some kind of, coding skills that they need somehow. And with this kind of thing, it's a way of thinking, logical thinking that we try to bring there, and seeing, okay, this is our investment society, which means we help them to acquire skills at that level as well that are extremely relevant for the future. But of course for us, at the same time, get a lot of smart young kids, for example, closer to Intel's architecture, workforce development, war for talents, all these kind of things, absolutely. It's a shared value. And probably we're not the only company doing that, of course, but that is definitely from the society perspective what is extremely important for us. So
it's basically a tool that could help make coding, programming skills ubiquitous, and also a headhunting tool for Intel, a recruiting tool.
It helps. It helps. I mean, that is certainly something that we're not denying that, right? I mean, even today, I don't know who said that this war for talents is there. I mean, we're missing about 1 million, if I have the number correct, 200,000 alone in Germany, but 1 million kind of STEM skilled workers in Europe. That's huge. It's a little bit better here, I guess, if I understand, but especially Western Europe, it is very tough. So definitely we need to do something to raise the interest. We want more people, and in the West especially more females, to take up these kind of things. And whatever we can do to help that, get together with other companies, basically all the companies who were sitting there, from Microsoft to Vodafone, they're all doing that, because they all face the same issues there.
Okay, the Galileo is a product for, you said it's for the ones who trying to learn how to code and make cool stuff, but I think it also had an impact on the startup community. How was it received, and would you consider it a successful product?
From what I've seen today, absolutely a successful product. I think we're just at the beginning to see its full impact there that we can do. You mentioned the startup community. Actually, that's something I was discussing with a colleague this morning. How can we better link it there? We are investing in startup companies. We have Intel Capital, but that's at a later stage. So the question is, how can we invest? How can we use that and link it to not only, again, to skill development, but also to startups? We have these questions. A colleague of mine, actually, she is going to all the maker fairs. She comes back usually and says, I've got kids there in the end. Let's call them kids. They are young adults, whatever. And they say, I did something. It's great. I want to start a company. What should I do? And there's a couple of things there. So we see, our question is, how much do we engage? We have Intel Capital, we work with incubators and so on. We have competitions, business plan competitions, technology competitions. We have all that. And all that is part of this ecosystem. How do we channel that to the right, actually, economic development as well, right? I mean, because in the end, yes, it might generate some benefits for Intel, but let's be honest, I mean, if they do development on a code, they don't have to go to Intel. They can go to other companies.
Yeah.
There's no contract that they need to sign, which means they can go anywhere they want. But what it definitely does is it raises the skill level of any kind of region or country where this is happening. That's for sure. So the real benefit is more from this economic level than for an individual company. It's maybe larger for the whole sector, but for an individual company, I could not measure what the impact of these kind of initiatives is for Intel in terms of war for talents or hiring. That's very difficult to measure. Okay,
would you say the same thing is available for the Intel Edison? Are you hoping it will spark a wearables revolution?
Oh, revolution is always a big word, right? To have you jump in. I think what it does for us, it really opens up a new category that we see. Of course, everybody sees what is coming, the wearables. Intel is a leader in notebooks and computer chips. So wearables, we see that coming, small devices, and actually nobody, I think, would do any kind of prediction what the situation looks like in 4 years from now, right? Because nobody saw things like a tablet computer 3 years before it was invented or before it came to market. So what happens in 4 years, we don't know. But what we see is these kind of devices that you carry around that actually enrich the lives of people. You have it with you or so, be it the smartwatch or other things that are the bracelet, the Amigo, these kind of things. What it requires in the end, all these things, we see that definitely coming, that you carry these things around with you. And that's definitely an area where that is extremely highly relevant for Intel. So from that perspective, it is a definite answer to the market from Intel, this Edison chip, where we think we are much better than what others can do right now. So,
at an Intel event that took place in Nice, I spoke to Philip Moina and from Intel, and we spoke about the Quark processor. And he told me then that Intel's vision is connected cities, and that basically at some point the Quark processor could end up saving the world if it would be implemented in every city in the world, because it monitors pollution, it makes for better sustainability, etc. Would you say the Edison would help put this plan in motion even further? Would you see connected devices, wrist-worn connected devices, interacting with the city itself? Is that the kind of innovation you're working on?
By the way, Quark is driving the Quark development, so
yeah, sure.
of course.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, I'll let you answer. I just would say yes. Why not? I mean, there is so much potential in all this innovation we are creating and putting out in the market, and Intel is definitely involved in the Sustainable Cities project and in several other projects across the region. We are also very proud that Ireland is actually one of the main locations where Quark has been R&D from. So definitely huge potential in the applications that this can.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so Philippines is based in Ireland, driving the Quark.
I think that's only the beginning, because if you look at smart cities, I know everybody uses these smart cities, but what is a smart city really? It's a combination of things, right? It's smart cars, it's smart measurement, it's smart kind of data analytics. What do you do with that? Just, gathering data about the pollution on that street here doesn't bring you anything if you don't know what to do with that. Then you know it's dirty, okay, and you can put a sensor out there and you know it's raining, but you can see that. So the question is, how do you create that ecosystem? That's much more important as well, or it's as important as well, I would say. So this smart city is a whole concept. Now think about smart cars. Smart cars is an integral part of smart cities and the whole smart thing. Now think of every car is connected. What's the first thing that you need? Well, you need broadband for that, right? And you need broadband at a level we don't even have it yet. If every car out there is constantly sending data or so back and forth and receiving data, the whole broadband infrastructure will break down. So the question of smart cities also is a question of broadband. It's a question of the tools of Quark, Edison, this kind of thing. It's a question of all these things we're